Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Midweek Fix on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. This is Cross Politics. Good to be with you guys. Pastor Toby Chalk Knox. I'm the water boy. And as you guys know, it is Christmas season.
Yes.
And as we go into 2022, sign up to join our club. We need your support. We want to build an army of club members.
Why is your Christmas thing not moving?
It's not. I forgot. I got hit. There we go. Bring the holiday cheer.
Did you see what happened at Fox? Did you see? Their Christmas tree got lit on fire.
Really?
Literally, they live streamed yesterday their Christmas tree.
No way.
They actually caught the guy, but the one right in front of the building.
Oh, someone lit it?
It seems that way. Well, I'm still waiting for more details. We'll update you later on Cross Politics.
Little arsonist.
Yes.
Hey, this show's brought to you by the Reformed Sage.
I was going to show the man box picture,
Fine.
because my Christmas T-shirt, our new campfire mug,
Reformed Sage, just wait a minute.
All right. Okay, I'll let you go there. You messed up my plug.
This show's brought to you by the Reformed Sage. It sells really cool merchandise with a strong Reformed message.
Oh.
And amazing. No, really, it is. Coffee. Their desire is that their merchandise and coffee can be a conversation starter with those around you who don't know Jesus. And through conversations about a design or around a cup of Reformed Roasters sanctified beans, may it lead them to an understanding of the knowledge of God. Give me an organ or something like that.
I know. Come on.
I was kind of thinking, did they baptize their coffee?
They probably do. Okay. This guy's based out of Boise, Idaho.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Yes. Idaho. Yeah. The Reformed Sage's merchandise includes, but is not limited to, Bibles, Bible covers, beautifully engraved wood art, shirts, hoodies, keychains, tumblers, and yes, of course, their Reformed Roasters coffee. Visit them online at www.reformedsage.com. First-time buyers can use a one-time promo code of FLF to receive 10% off their first order.
And it's Christmas.
It is.
Okay.
All right. So did you know that redistricting is racist?
Maybe.
Maybe. Well, Merrick Garland thinks it's racist. All right.
Today, the Justice Department has filed suit against the state of Texas for violating Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. As the Supreme Court has observed, a core principle of our democracy is that, quote, voters should choose their representatives, not the other way around, close quote. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act requires that state voting laws, including laws that draw electoral maps, provide eligible voters with an equal opportunity to participate in the democratic process and elect representatives of their choosing. The complaint we filed today alleges that Texas has violated Section 2 by creating redistricting plans that deny or abridge the rights of Latino and Black voters to vote on account of their race, color, or membership in a language minority group.
So have you
He's got an oppressive Latino in the background with a mask on.
Have you ever seen Kung Fu Panda? You guys ever seen that?
Oh, yeah.
There's a moment in there where the panda goes and I don't like that guy. I'm having one of those moments right now. I don't like that guy.
Hey, with us today, right now, to help us understand and interpret that guy is Mr. Michael Sullivan. He's a publisher at Texas Scorecard. You can follow him at Texas Scorecard on the Twitters. He is not looking for your approval.
Well, amen.
And he and his amazing wife have 3 kids, and his dog's better than your dog. So there.
I know that because I don't have a dog, so yeah, you're right.
Michael, thanks for joining us on Cross Politic again.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate you. My dog is here in the studio with me, so if you see his head, you'll know why.
Okay. And then we will know that your dog is better than our dog. Michael, so is Merrick Garland right? Did Texas sit down and decide, we are not going to let Blacks or Latinos be represented in our state?
Merrick Garland has a view of the world. He has a view,
yes.
And that is definitely an opinion. Merrick Garland, like every single person who holds public office, they have one goal and one goal only, which is to keep holding public office and for their party to keep holding office. And that's about as far as their benevolence extends, is to their own sense of political self-preservation. And whenever you talk about redistricting, I don't care what party you're affiliated with or anything, it always comes back to the political calculations of the people holding political office. And you got to keep that. Whatever rhetoric they throw around it, whatever pretty words they say, inflammatory content, it's always about winning and losing their side versus their opponents.
It seems particularly here that the Democrats in the last, I'd say since, probably longer than this, but since kind of 2015, 16, when Trump was running for office, like calling Republicans racist is like just part of the Democratic mantra. If we just keep repeating this again and again and again, then eventually most people just believe it. It's part of the culture. And so when Merrick, says Texas is basically racist in how they redistrict, that's just Democratic standard. I mean, it's just their standard play, and there's no basis behind it.
What is so sad is, on the one hand, we're going to keep calling people racist until everyone believes that group is a racist. Unfortunately, what actually happens is you call everyone a racist and everything is racism. Suddenly, nothing's racist anymore. There are actual people in this world where sin manifests in their life by hating someone because of the color of their skin or their ethnic background. That sin really exists in this world, and yet you're absolutely right. The Democrats have taken that and made it so that sin no longer actually counts anymore. They've devalued it to the point where, quite honestly, if you haven't been called a racist today, you're probably not breathing. If you haven't been called a racist this week, you're probably not actually engaged in fighting the culture wars.
Are you even trying?
Well,
yeah.
So here's something that I did that I shouldn't have done. I know it's a mistake, so don't beat me up, okay, Michael? I actually took the Democrats serious. And the head shake of shame, shame on you.
Shame.
And so when they
I'll hire of you.
I want to say, okay, if there's a problem here, I want to take everything. I don't want to assume that they're right, but I actually want to take every accusation seriously. When they brought out the redistricting maps of Texas, I'm like, these are some funky lines. Now, I don't know what's going on here yet, but when I look at least the representation that they give me and I see the lines drawn, I can't help but say, why is it that they are drawing these funky lines in such a way? Because it absolutely looks like that they're at least catering, like you said, to themselves winning, but is there more going on than that?
So this is the irony of the Democrat position. The Democrats' position is, you can't use race, and you shouldn't use race. I think we'd all agree you shouldn't use race as the determinant for drawing a district boundary. On the other hand, they want racial lines drawn to produce their own partisan outcomes. And they take this worldview that says if we put the right amount of Hispanics or African Americans or Asians or LGBTQ people, whatever kind of groups you can compact together, they will produce a Democrat seat. And so you have this weird world in which the Democrats say Republicans shouldn't use race when drawing lines that benefit Republicans, but Democrats should use race for lines that benefit Democrats. It doesn't actually make sense. What the Supreme Court has said is that they didn't endorse this, but what they gave a pass to was, of course, parties in power will draw lines that benefit the parties in power, and as long as they aren't explicitly denying someone the vote, then it's okay.
That's a pretty high bar. So go back and define what redistricting is.
Before you get there, though, I want to just point out what you said. It's so vital that people understand what you just said, because I've been listening to both sides, Democrats and Republicans, have this argument back and forth. And Michael, you are so right. One of the Republicans said, we drew this without any race intent. We drew it colorblind. The Democrats come out and say, well, then how in the world are you going to see us? And so it's like, wait, if I drew it with color, you'd be mad at me. And so now I decided we did draw it with color, and now you're mad at me. Yep. Which one is it? So you're absolutely right about that. Okay, Gabe.
Yeah. So how do they? What are the standards, or what are the metrics that they're using to define the kind of a proper redistricting process?
Yeah, it's like beauty, or I guess pornography. You know it when you see it. And that's kind of redistricting. There's this real interesting case that my lawyer told me about from the 1960s, where I think it was the state of Tennessee had not drawn new district boundaries since the early 1900s or something. So it had gone 50 plus years at new district lines, which meant you had some districts that had 100 times as many people in them as other districts. We do redistricting because of this concept of one man, one vote. And so, every 10 years we do the math and redivide the lines. And that was what redistricting is supposed to produce a way so that an equal number of people have an equal shot at electing someone. And when you do that, what's been the standard has been, keeping together communities of interest, neighborhoods, don't divide up cities in weird ways, respect geographic boundaries like major highways or rivers or valleys or, those kind of things. That's always been kind of the standard. But when you do that, this is where the art of redistricting comes. So the science is there are 100 people, you've got 10 districts, you've got 10 people per district, right? But the art comes in that people, believe it or not, don't live in equal proportion to each other. So when you start trying to get the 10 people into this area, that's where those questions start arising. It'd be nice if we could just do little square blocks of longitude and latitude. But that's not the real world, and that's where the art comes in. That's where the politics comes in. That's where the gamemanship starts to come in.
Now, we were talking about this earlier, where there could be like some sort of algorithm that could kind of take care of a lot of this. So you have square foot, footage in your state.
Can we get like a Dominion machine to do this for us?
We know the outcome of that every time, though.
It's racist. You take into account square footage, population size, home ownership, some things like that you could put in just to an algorithm. Everyone knows the algorithm. Everyone can see its objective, data that's feeding it, and just say, okay, here's our new districting lines.
That's a great idea, but we live in a post-objective world, where every algorithm is subject to the machinations of each individual throwing in, their facts, their truth. A phrase that makes me want to vomit every time I hear it.
Go ahead.
I threw it in my mouth a little bit.
You can do it on camera. It's all right.
Especially after that.
But I think that's where, on the one hand, I think you're right. I think there's that sense which we would all like there to be this, very hyper scientific approach to defining out the representational boundaries. On the other hand, we pay these guys to do this. This is actually part of their job, is to do this kind of work. And I think that no matter how scientific we made it, because you decide to move your family to city A, and your cousin moves to city B, and now you can't keep you all together. I mean, there's just these human interactions are more messy and more gloriously diverse than what I think a computer algorithm would allow, or that we'd probably even want. At some point, we have to ask all of us to stop presuming the worst. In this case, with the Democrats, maybe these guys, we need to be encouraging folks to stop playing into the race game and just say, look, the Republicans, when they're in charge, they want to draw Republican districts, and the Democrats in charge want to draw Democrat districts, and that's the way it is. We don't actually have to go beyond any motivations than that. But the real question has to be, who's being served in redistricting? Are we serving the citizens, or are we serving the politicians? And right now, Merrick Garland is defending a system that champions the politician, but he's using the phraseology, using the words of racism, which is a very personal, citizens are being attacked kind of mindset. But we should actually be looking at this from the question of, are we actually helping the citizens or are we helping the politicians? And redistricting helps the politicians.
Man, okay. How do we then get redistricting back to helping? Because what you just said, it sounded like to me that we're between a mountain lion and, a wolf. And those two are about to fight over us, and we're choosing which one we want to eat us at this point.
The elephant and donkey.
Well,
between.
But so if that's the case, how do we get redistricting back to the place where we're actually serving the citizen again?
Well, I'm not a big fan of the idea of getting back, because I'm not sure redistricting has ever really been done well.
Okay.
I think the solution to redistricting is found in citizen participation. When you look at a lot of these district boundaries, a gross example of this is if I live in an area where people don't vote, well, we proportion our all of our districts from city councils and county districts and school. Everything is proportioned based on how many human beings have beating hearts in those areas, not based on voting, not based on. So if I'm in a low voting area, suddenly my vote counts a lot more than you who's in a high voting area. And some of the solutions got to be citizens step involved. We need to do a better job of citizens taking back their government. And at that point, we start seeing some solutions to redistricting. But right now, with so few people participating, in most places, when you look at local governance, cities and schools, you'll have 8% turnout in elections, 10% turnout in elections.
Ridiculous.
Even in big statewide races, you might have only 50 or 60% of eligible voters participating. You need more people participating.
Yeah, we just had our local city council mayoral election back in November, and only 30% of Republicans, conservatives showed up to vote. Yeah. And we lost. We, of course, lost. And Democrats, they probably had 35%. I mean, it wasn't much better. But, we're in a supposed liberal town, and if our Republicans would just show up to vote, we'd actually win all the elections. We'd win them. And a supposed, what everyone thinks as a liberal town, it's just ridiculous.
Mike, is gerrymandering the same thing as redistricting, or is that something different?
Well, gerrymandering is the phrase given to a district lines I don't like. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the lines. That is a scientific and an even-keeled approach to drawing representational boundaries. When I don't like it, it's gerrymandering.
It's just a derogatory term for redistricting.
Derogatory term.
That's right.
Got it. Okay.
So right now, in our current state, we live in a small town, like he was just saying. What would be one of the recommendations you have for people in a small town? We're dealing with redistricting, but we actually have the ability to change some of our system in smaller counties or small towns like ours. Where would we begin to, let's start with we're engaging in politics. We're at least getting out to vote. That's number one. How will we go about setting up a fairer system outside of redistricting in maybe a small town like ours? There's a lot of people across America in small towns like this.
Yeah, so, you always have to remember, none of these decisions, a lot of these decisions aren't, despite the view we have that these decisions are made in back rooms, smoke field, hidden from the world. In fact, redistricting decisions, just like the budget, just like everything else, are actually conducted in nice little hearing rooms with semi-uncomfortable seats that are all empty. And redistricting isn't done in November and December before the primary elections. It's actually done, 6, 8, 10, even 12 months earlier, all with public hearings that no one shows up for.
Wow.
It is convenient to complain about the redistricting process when it's done. A lot of us have to get better at participating when it's going on. In Texas, redistricting started more than a year and a half ago before there were even census numbers available. No one showed up at those hearings. And then, of course, it all proceeds through. Every one of us needs to do a better job of showing up. My dad was a football coach when I was growing up, and I can still hear my dad's pep talk to every team. He said it every week. We lose every game we don't show up for.
Right.
And that is true in everything in life. When we don't show up, we always lose. And when it comes, whether you're talking redistricting or anything else, we as citizens have to do a better job of showing up. We live in a system that was designed for the citizens to participate, for the citizens to be in charge. And we need to act like it by showing up and participating.
So, and this is the last question, and I kind of want to talk a little bit about the Biden mandates. I know that's kind of a switch, but do you think at all that this case is going to have any equity if it goes to the Supreme Court? It seems like it will. Is there going to be any equity whatsoever that they can prove that this thing is racist in Texas? Do you think they're going to?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, and we are. You're probably 2 years away from any of these, from this particular lawsuit, even being heard in a substantive, what are the merits perspective, before a single judge in some courtroom in Texas that none of you will ever visit, right?
Yeah.
You're talking 5-10 years before it's before the U.S. Supreme Court. At most, what you're going to get is a local federal district judge making the decision whether or not it looks like the Democrats have a case, and if they do have a case, should that judge do something right now? The standards that the Supreme Court have set are so incredibly high now for judges when it comes to interfering in elections. Even the most left-wing judge, and oh, by the way, this is a very left-wing judge's court in Texas, even that judge is going to have to be real careful about how much they mess with the maps. The courts have all kind of agreed judges aren't supposed to be in the map drawing business. They're supposed to be in the conflict resolution business. And so it's unlikely that this is going to result in major changes to the Texas maps anytime soon, if at all. What it could have the effect, though, of delaying the Texas Republican and Democratic primaries. They're currently scheduled for March 1st. You could see them moved into April, May, June, July, that sort of thing. Now, as little small changes are made, as arguments are made, but that's probably the biggest change we'll see.
So, reminded me of one more question before we switch over to the vaccine stuff. Merrick Garland is obviously racism is a big issue to him, so he cares about minority voters. Is he pro-life?
Negative. He is not pro-life.
So
he
don't mind
cares about life when it's related to the life of people who make contributions to the Democratic Party.
Well, that'd be dead people too. So I guess in one sense,
so he doesn't mind like murdering future minority generations that might vote.
So long as they're flooding in over the border.
Yeah.
Just before we let you go, I know that you're in Texas, so you got a lot of what's going on with the whole mandate coming from the federal government onto private employers to force vaccinate their staff. I just kind of just want to get your take on that and kind of where you think it's going to end up landing. It seems to be getting pushed, even though the courts are kind of pushing out and saying, yeah, that's not going to happen. But it's not stopping the president. It's not stopping a lot of the liberals. It's not stopping anybody from trying to push this thing through to our citizens. Are you surprised by this? What's your take on this, and where do you think it's going to end up at?
Yeah, I mean, so in Texas, we see a lot of politicians talking out of both sides of their mouth. Our governor, for example, has done nothing real substantive on the issue. He talks a lot about the issue. On the other hand, we've got all of our state universities are pushing along the vaccine mandates, even with them being put on hold by federal courts of late. So I think what this vaccine issue is revealing, what probably, at least the four of us would probably agree, has been the real issue all along, which is not vaccines and it's not health, it's control.
That's right.
Yeah.
This issue is showing us which politicians actually believe in that weird, dirty word of liberty, and which ones really actually believe that they're smarter than all of us and they should tell us what to do.
So what do you see happening, Mike? Are you seeing any pushback against that? I mean, it looks like, again, I'm seeing, I agree with you. I think that's right. Is there a tide that's turning at all?
Certainly among the citizenry, there's a tide. And look, I mean, this is the thing that gets me real excited. Is I think I see a lot of folks waking up. I see a lot of folks realizing that, gosh, that election I didn't vote in, it actually has a consequence. And you see that. And for example, we reported on this yesterday up in the panhandle of Texas, outside Amarillo, is a major nuclear processing center where almost the entire U.S. nuclear arsenal rotates through to check for its safety and its effectiveness and those sorts of things. And you've got somewhere between a third and a half of the literal nuclear scientists there who just don't want to be vaccinated, and they are going to be fired within the next 3 or 4 weeks. That impacts national security. That goes beyond whether or not, the koozie you bought for your grandma for Christmas arrives on time. This goes to our national security.
Wow.
Michael Sullivan, TexasScorecard.com. Sir, thank you so much for coming on Cross Politic. Watch your back out there, man. You a real one, and they like to take real ones out. So make sure you got security with you. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me on.
If you're single, get married. If you're married, have kids. And if you have kids, go baptize them. Until Sunday, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is Cross Politic.
And apparently you need to vote.
Yeah, go vote.
30%.
We did not design a cookie-cutter curriculum meant to chop students into appropriately shaped submissives or snowflakes for the secular zeitgeist. We designed our curriculum the way we did because we want our graduates to be equipped to stand courageously against that destructive zeitgeist and to honor their maker and how they, body, mind, and soul, battle to save their communities and the entire Western world from our current diseased insanity. New St. Andrews College is not in the business of rubber stamping graduates for this particular job market or that particular career. We aren't happy unless our graduates are equipped to tackle any constructive cultural task anywhere, from courtrooms to hospitals to job sites to movie sets to the highest risk job and the most important setting of all, the raising and training of the next generation of immortal souls around dining room tables and in pews. The world may have gone mad, but it's not the first time. It has been saved before and by particular people, many of whom shared a very particular type of education. Augustine, Calvin, Jefferson, Churchill, and many lesser-known heroes in times of madness all had one type of education, one type of training in common. And it's the same kind of rigorous education we currently pursue surrounded by the rolling wheat fields of Idaho. By God's grace, our civilization will be saved, or rebuilt, from the smoking ruins. The men and women capable of such a task, capable of fearless joy and fiery laughter, all while undertaking such hard cultural labor, those are the kind of graduates we want, the kind we expect. They are why we exist, and why we teach what we teach. So you might call it a major in world building, or culture shaping, or a major in saving civilization. We call it classical Christian liberal arts. New St. Andrews College, saving civilization since 1994.